Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday. I'm excited to come on today and connect and answer some questions, have some conversation about some fun topics. I'm curious how everybody's week has been, how it's felt with the energy we kind of talked about last week. I know it's been definitely interesting for me. I ended up going down a unexpected rabbit hole. Um, I was connecting to my guides last week, and I heard them say to me, "You're not done yet." And what they meant is they had told me to kind of be available as a channel as information was coming in and different things. And they said, that it would last for about 8 to 10 days. And I thought I was about at the end of it. And so I was eating, my breakfast, and they're like, "Is it my breakfast or is having coffee?" One of the two. Hello, Margot. Hi. How's the weather in North Carolina? I know here in Florida it's really ridiculously hot. I went out early this morning. It was like, this is too much. But anyway, so yes, the energy was intense, and my guides were like, "Oh, you're not done yet." And so I was like, "Oh boy." So I sat down, and oh, it's beautiful. That's awesome. I love that. I love that. So I sat down and asked my guides, like, "Well, what do you mean I'm not done yet?" And that's when they shared a realization to me, connected to Atlantis, which I've recorded a video on, and shared more information on that. It took me a couple of days to kind of mentally process all of that because it shifted a lot in my own personal perspectives. And I think I'll just give a short, very, very short summary of what that is. And then if you want to know more, go watch the videos. But basically, they said that I was understanding that based on the language and everything I'm hearing, that we're kind of in this position where the world is splitting, and we're increasing in vibration, and that we were reaching this enlightened, incredible state that was kind of had this like happy ever after feeling, that we would just step into, whether you want to call it 50 or whatever, and that would just be the essence of forever and some sort of utopia. And what they shared is actually we're revisiting kind of like the whole idea of Atlantis again, meaning that we're being given another opportunity to make different choices and to come together to alchemize the human experience with the spiritual experience, and that we would experience a sudden burst of gifts and ability, and they called it like a magical blanket. But when we have that, like, how do we use it? Do we, like Atlantis, was it used for power gains, or what was very surprising, it said, or would we be so lost in, this euphoric high vibrational state of just, I don't know, like a transcendent essence, that we wouldn't really alchemize the human experience with it, but the goal is to be the fullest of ourselves as human in the integration of the experience of, as long as we're here on this planet, that there is some polarity, that will kind of be moving through, to appreciate the spiritual and our fullest essence and the new gifts and talents and things that will be, accessible, but to not forget what they said has always been there, meaning the planet, the slow moments, the present. So it was it was a lot for me at the time. It was like there was a lot of aha moments that came with it. So that was my week. And that's how the whole Uranus and Mars has influenced me. And I know I've been saying how like Atlantis was like perfectly conjunct at that time, which I kept thinking, why is it so perfect? Like, what are we supposed to know? And so it was kind of fascinating. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining. Glad to have you. So yeah, if you, Margot and Sarah, if you want, like, leave a note in the chat, like, how did the week feel to you? Like, was it electric or was it slow or did people get on your nerves? That was actually, I did have a few Aries, Marsy moments yesterday. I was a little had some intense moments of being less than what I would prefer to behave as. It was so hot. And where I worked, like the AC was out, so it kind of killed me. I finally got to the point where I was like, I'm done. I'm going home. Nobody wants a reading from me in this state. Like, I'm not going to do anybody justice, which is, I guess you have to honor where you are in that moment. I kept trying to like find the peace and joy, the positive, but I'm like sweating and hot and I just couldn't bring myself to center. So I was like, I'm out. I'm done. I was doing intuitive readings is what I was there for. And so I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. So yeah, that was my week. So that was fun. Really electric. Yes. Yeah. So the other thing, Sarah, I heard is somebody when Beckett looked it up, I think they said like one of the days around the 4th or 5th or 6th, something like that, there was like 13 major solar flares or something that day. So I know that for me, around I'd say the 3rd and 4th, like I electric. Like I didn't have the severe migraines, but it was like this twitchy, like I was being like like electrocuted, but I could feel like the energy so intensely. And my channel was like, especially from like the 3rd to the 6th, was like I could connect like that. It was so sharp. It was a lot of energy. Yes, electric and buzzy. Oh, I'm so glad. Well, I'm curious, Margot, did it feel like something you're like, didn't see that coming, or was it something you were like, oh yeah, I could see that, that makes sense. Cause like for me, it was like mind blowing. Like I was like deer in headlights, and Beckett was like, hello, what just happened? And I was having a hard time like integrating the awareness. But for him, he was like, oh yeah, like that makes sense actually. Like I think he asked like one question. I don't even know what his question was. I didn't understand it because I was channeling, like consciously channeling, but I didn't understand it. But his guides answered it, and he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes total sense." And that was it. Like he went about his day. I'm like sitting here, like trying to like calculate 2 + 2 plus this plus that. So I don't know, Margot. I'd be interested, like how did it feel? Oh, okay. Channels have been saying similar things. So your message really resonated. Okay. Well, good. That's awesome. Yeah, it's been interesting to see like all the different perspectives and narratives about like where we're going. I know a lot of like the spiritual podcasts have been using like very clickbaity, like this is it. It's ending. The world will never be the same, like all these things. And then there was one video which I'm not going to name names, but there was one person we were watching that was actually fairly well known, and he was saying that like he didn't feel like we were evolving in the way that everybody else is speaking of. And he was talking about some sort of asteroid. And he started this program for people to alchemize things that is 3 years long, like 3 years of an alchemy program. And I was like, I mean, I'm sure there are souls that is like, yes, sign me up for the 3 year program. But my Aries self was like, can I do it in shorter steps? So it just, it just goes to show that like everybody can have their experiences. Everybody can have what they want to experience, which is kind of, I guess, part of in the video I did with Beckett, like what we talked about, yeah, the clickbait. Yeah, it's sad because some of them that used to not be very clickbaity have been clickbaity. And so I'm like, oh, that's kind of a bummer, but I don't know. I try to stay in my own lane. But as I revealed in my life with Beckett, I do tend to weigh and measure things, and I'm learning to kind of come somewhat out of that. Especially that's hard because whether it's a being on the spectrum thing or it's the world changing thing, it's like when things start to change, for some people, it doesn't feel as comfortable at first. So, anyways, all right, okay. So that was some fun little sharing of what things have felt like. But yeah, it seems like everybody's agreeing electric, like it was very electric. So I think that the Mars and Uranus have been obviously since the fourth separating more and more. And so I think they said that we could feel some of that to the 16th. And then we go into looking at the nodes are changing and a lot of other different things. So yeah, I haven't gone down that path yet to explore too much of that in the astrology. Okay, all right. So I know that I shared last live I did that I asked if you do have a question to put it on the post, that's helpful to me. I know that Sarah posted some questions there that we can talk about today. When I do these lives, just for anybody watching the replay, just to kind of let you know how this works is really you can ask me anything. So it can be related to astrology, human design, galactic astrology, the races, different starseed traits. You can ask for intuitive guidance. And I would also love to encourage you that if you have attended and watched some of my lives, if you're willing to like share the videos, share the information, pass it along. If you've listened to me, you know that a big reason I'm doing this is for connection and community. So anything to kind of help bring people together to connect in that way, that would be so much gratitude. That's something I feel like is touches my heart as a way to kind of exchange energy with me for the ways we're connecting. Okay, so I'm going to go through a couple of these questions and then we're going to see where things go from there. Okay? All right. So these are some of the topics that came up. So Sarah was asking about the Nihal race. So for anybody watching this in the replay, if you are not familiar with galactic astrology, this is what we're talking about. And so there's a way in which you can pull your free galactic astrology chart. And from there, you can find different races that you are connected to. Now, if you have conjunctions and oppositions, if you've watched any of my other videos, you can see where that translates to that you have had a past life or a connection in the past, with that particular galactic group or race. And so that's what we're kind of looking at right now. My Starseed videos go into further extent of this. And to Sarah's point, she shared she hasn't really found a lot on that. And that is actually something that is very useful for me to know, because perhaps I can record a video on that someday in more extent. I know I'm going to at some point be doing a video. I did a poll and you guys said you wanted to hear about Merlin and magical asteroids. So I'll be doing that video, but also I can put that the Nihal video would be a good one. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this race. And so I'm going to share first some of the traits or characteristics that can be associated with this. Now, when I do my Starseed videos, usually what I like to do is do like a deep dive study for patterns. So I'm going to share some traits now, but probably when I do the video, what I'll do is go through all my client sessions and find synchronicities to patterns, which is what I like to include when I do my Starseed videos. So I haven't had the opportunity to go through that, and it's impossible for me to remember all of that information. But I'll share a few things I know off the top of my head, but I'll talk about some of the traits. So the first thing I'll say is, let me just say the traits. I got to stay on track. If you have a past life connected here, some of the gifts or traits that they could have is, one is they tend to usually have appreciate individuality or have a healthy sense of self-esteem. They also, traits are that they can be very empathic and loyal. So when we're talking about empathic, you can maybe sense the emotions of others and pick up on those pretty easily. I've shared before, I myself am not empathic. I know Beckett is. So emotions aren't easy for me to pick up on. But I can sense the energy of a room, which is one also of their abilities, is to read energy or sensitivity to energy. So that would fall in that category as well. So it isn't necessarily picking up the emotion in the room, but the energy the room carries. So there can be different expressions of that. It can be just sensing when a place is not aligned. If there was perhaps something major that happened in the room or a significant argument, and then the people have left, you still may sense a lingering energetic something off in the room. For me, I can sense a galactic or past loved ones energy in a room through the sensation of reading the energy to help you understand the difference. So one is a focus more specifically on the emotional currents. The other can be sensitive to energy in and of itself. Telepathy is another gift that they can have, or the potential to be in a realm that is experiencing that. They're also artistic. They can be very overall gifted or psychic. They also can feel very drawn or close to animals, or feel like they have maybe even telepathic connections to animals, or can read for animals. Also, they have the capacity for interdimensional travel. So in this life, that could even look as someone that's able to do visual journeys, shamanic journeys, astral travel, some of these things. Now, also, they're said to be connected to the concept of the children, the crystal or indigo children. This is something that whenever you're talking about like crystal children, sometimes people will talk about rainbow children or indigo children. I just suggest to hold these terms lightly. Do not take them so entirely literally, because I've found that, especially when we're talking about the soul and quantum concepts, as humans, we like to label things and put things in boxes, but that does not mean it's entirely accurate. I've read for souls that have rainbow rays, and they are not young children. And the indigo, again, equally, I've had different expressions. So just, I'd say hold that lightly, but I can say in some of the information out there, that these are connected. And the general idea of being, if you were to say, I'm a Nihal starseed, which if you have a conjunction, then I would say, especially like you said to your ascendant, I would say that that would be very accurate. But they're overall a frequency of higher vibration. They can resonate or work with the blue or indigo ray. Now, the additional layers that I do know I can add, based on my own experiences with my clients' records, etc. And that would be that often these beings are associated with what is called as like the Starseed program, or helping in integrating high frequency souls on Earth to increase vibration. The other thing is that it's believed that it's also connected to a form of mystery school. If we look at it on a soul level, that I've read multiple clients' records where their past soul described having sort of like a educational type space or area in which they were learning about coming to Earth and the human integration. And so that is something that also has come up in multiple different client records. I'm trying to recall completely, but I'm 99% sure I recall in my own chart study quite some time ago that I attended one of these such schools for on related to Nihal, and it was associated with for me and that understanding relationship dynamics on Earth, which played out through various levels of my experiences in this life. For reference, anybody that enjoys astrology, so I'm a Libra rising, I'm an Aries sun, but my sun is in my 7th house, and I have pretty much a stellium in my 11th house. So connection to people and engagement is very important. However, at the same time, in this life, as far as family goes, I've pretty much been cut off, and especially to my parents, disowned. So there's been an interesting dynamic for me in understanding relationships. So in my past lives, my connection to Nihao, there was attendance of one of these sort of mystery schools to understand human relationships better. Rainbow, Blu-ray, etc. is a little confusing to me. I think there are too many labels. Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is that I tend to just associate the color ray in general with the soul. So that varies. However, there are beliefs that there are certain waves of energy where particular souls embodied specific rays as a collective for a certain purpose. So they'll call them like the crystalline children or the rainbow children, the indigo children. And I'm not discrediting any of that. I'm just saying if you were familiar with those, usually I just say to hold that lightly because it's not always like definite to fit whatever characteristics they apply. It can vary. But it is said that the Nihal race is associated to incarnations that may be associated or connect to the indigo ray or the blue ray. Sarah, do you understand or do you have much? Have you heard of color rays in holding different energy signatures? If you can let me know in the chat. Because that's kind of what I'm talking about. And if you're not sure, you've heard that before, I can elaborate a little bit on that. And then I'll move on to the second question, which was about the Super Galactic Center. Again, for anybody watching this, we are talking about galactic astrology here. So yes, I have heard about that. Okay, so yeah, so that's just, I'd say just having a basic understanding of what the rays mean. So the Nihal is associated with the blue and indigo ray, which would note, their different characteristics according to that. Okay. So, as far as the Super Galactic Center, to answer this question, basically, what this means in galactic astrology is there's various different galactic points that are in the astrology chart that is pulled. And the reason they're pulled is they hold some significant meaning or weight to them, depending on what the point is. So, what I think is fascinating of this, I think you and Becca building community will help those of us whose role is to anchor and stabilize a new consciousness in the face of, yeah. Thank you for that, Margot. Yeah, and for reference, speaking of the Blu-ray, so Beckett is a Blu-ray soul origin. So he has a lot of this Blu-ray energy, which tends to be true speaker, but also very empathic, which actually, now that I think about it, he had an incarnation on Nihal. So I would say, yeah, a lot of these definitely apply to him. So yeah, that's fascinating. Okay, so with the Super Galactic Center, what I was about to say is what's fascinating about it is Julia, the founder of Galactic Astrology, speaks a lot to these galactic points. And what she found is if you chart them, it's interesting because mixed with, I believe, what's called the Shapley attractor, it creates a spiral. So it's interesting to entertain the concept of the spiral being woven energetically on a mass scale when we're looking at the entire galaxy. Okay. But generally speaking, when we're looking at galactic astrology, what I would say is first off is to understand what we're talking about. So the Super Galactic Center, we're essentially talking about a black hole. So this black hole, this mapped piece, basically energetically pulls things towards it. Okay, so on the most basic level, you can say if you have the Super Galactic Center conjunct in an aspect of your galactic astrology chart, whatever that is, you're going to pull it towards. And I believe that you can have this aspect conjunct fall in the sign of either Libra or Virgo. So, for example, I'll use the sun as an example. So, if you had it in Libra, you can look at it as whatever that energy is, you're pulling it in. So, if you have, for example, your sun, which is a big part of identity, in Libra, which is a big about relationships or weighing and measuring things. It's also associated with the sign of justice. It rules normally the seventh house. So it's important connections. So if you have this, let's say, for example, your sun is Libra conjunct the Super Galactic Center, that means you're constantly bringing in, because that effect, you're constantly bringing in relationships to you, people to you, themes to you, perhaps, or circumstances that ask you to evaluate balance. The scales is associated with Libra, or associate with senses of justice. That could be how you allow people to treat you, etc. So you're pulling these things in your incarnation, will constantly pull them to you. Okay, where if we look at it, let's say it's the sun in Virgo. Well, Virgo's a different sign, so it's going to have a different energy signature. So some of the things related to Virgo could be that it kind of has this desire to help, but it's also very analytical. It likes efficiency. Can I do this to move forward in the most efficient way possible? So, okay, Virgo. Yeah. Oh, your last degree of Virgo, too. So that means you're about done with the Virgo journey. Okay, so whatever those Virgo qualities are there that resonate for you, it's going to constantly pull them in. So you may constantly be feeling like, I need to help, or I want to help, or how can I help people do it better? How can I be of service? Okay, so those are things that will constantly be themes that will ask you to explore and work through. Now, with it being in the fourth house, then I would imagine it would bring in constant reflection of how that energy is playing out as it relates to your sense of home and family, safety, security, your foundations. So it could be like, am I valued within the home for my contributions? Am I listened to when I, try to offer suggestions? How does my contributions improve the quality of how I feel in my foundational life, in my home and my family? So those are some of the qualities in which you can look at that could play with that. And then, with you being a late degree of Virgo, anytime you're a late degree, a 29, or well, if you're a 29, you're at the last stages, or even right before that, the last few degrees. You usually have explored all you want to explore in that energy archetype of sign. Where if you're a 0 degrees, that means like you're just getting started. So for reference, it's entertaining because I'll be honest with you, Virgo is my most challenging sign. It rules my 12th house. But also I have Jupiter, I have Virgo in the 11th and 12th, but I have Jupiter, which is like big and expansive, but it's at like 0 degrees of Virgo. So it's like, Virgo can be very analytical and detail oriented, efficient, and Jupiter is very expansive. So it's like I get lost in the details. Like I don't know when to stop. Like it's not the most comfortable placement for Jupiter. I can tell you that. So, anyways, and with it being in the 11th house, then it also often means like I have been on a journey to understand my value outside of what I'm offering in the form of service. It's like again the relationship thing. It's like can people just like you because you're you? And I'm like, what? Anyways, it's been a journey. Okay, so hopefully that answers that as far as looking at the Super Galactic Center. So if you have that, yes, you just whatever sign that is in whatever. So, for example, I'll give you another example. Perhaps if it was conjunct your Mercury, that's going to amplify how you communicate, how you use language, amplifying stories of looking at how you think, so it's going to amplify and pull circumstances into your reality that associate to it. And I think the last thing on that subject that I want to add is also in when we're looking at galactic astrology chart, this would also be seen as a portal. So these energies, when we're speaking galactically, it often can point to signs of souls that have actually there's in one other point I want to share, but it can point to souls that have traveled a lot. It can also point to souls whose origins, especially if it's in later degrees, like later placement, outer planets like Pluto, Neptune, Uranus. It can point to origins that are more group consciousness versus individual or starseed like physical incarnated origins. And then the last thing is that it can also equate to individuals that have a very intense magnetism. So people can equally feel pulled towards you. Like, I don't know what it is about this person, but I feel like I need to be pulled in. So there's a lot of magnetism. Also, for some placements, I would say, especially if it was conjuncture Mercury, I'd imagine you have a very open channel. Especially for something like that placement. But a lot of times, if you have a lot of galactic points in your chart, it can equal a very strong channel. Like I am a channeler. So I channel consciously, I trance channel, I channel multiple different beings, which from my understanding, what is out there has appeared to be less common than, for example, like Abraham Hicks, Bashar, they channel one being. So these placements can give you very open channel to hear from all sorts of places, all sorts of realms in different ways. Okay, I think that is pretty thoroughly covering that energy. Okay, let me look at some of these comments here. Okay, so astrological arts. Okay, you say MC. Are you saying Osiris, as in the asteroid conjunct Super Galactic Center? MC. Okay, so and you say it's in yes. Okay. All right. So I'm not as off the top of my head. I'm not as versed. I'm trying to tap into because I know Anubis. I know Osiris is connected to Isis. And I'm not as versed as much on Osiris's history. Is he associated equally with themes of the underworld? I might have to look more into the more specific meanings of that one. Like, it's funny because I'm versed on a lot of the Egyptian stuff, but because like I know all about Hathor and how Hathor's energy is different from Isis and Basquiat, and but all of those placements are very significant in my chart, so I'm very versed on it. But Osiris is not as, yeah, okay, yes, dismember. So he was taken into the underworld to dismember, and then Isis resurrected him, if I'm remembering it correctly, brought him back to life, because I know Isis is the goddess of resurrection, if I'm understanding that correctly. Yeah, if yes, okay, thank you. See, it was there. I just had to like find it in the weave of all the other gods and goddesses. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So let's look at this. Okay. So first off, your midheaven, obviously that's an important part because this is like your legacy. This is what you're known for. This is your highest point of your chart. It's when people say like, what's my purpose? Like a lot of times we look at the midheaven to see what is that? What's there? What's the theme? Okay, so let's look at, for one, this placement is in Libra. Okay, so earlier when I said that Super Galactic Center is going to pull in things, well, especially when we have Osiris, who's very much in connection to the stories of Isis, that obviously there's a lot of relationship theme there that goes into that. So you're going to have that experience of when it comes to what you're known for, I'm imagining connection's going to be a big part of that. I would feel as if, and I might just have shamanic experiences. I might just tune in. If astrological arts, if you give me your first name or your nickname and you give me permission to connect to your energy, I can intuitively answer this for you, because I can give you logical information. But if you want to share that, I can intuit specifically for your soul what the guidance is that your guides want you to know about this particular placement. So I'll kind of keep an eye on the chart, on the chat for your reply. Okay, Mark. Yeah. Okay, all right, Mark. Give me just a second. And just Mark and anybody else listening to, just in general, I love taking moments to pause in the day. So if you're watching and you can, just breathe with me, relax. It's always good to just kind of like ground your energy. So, Mark, I'm going to connect to your energy. Give me just a moment. Okay, Mark, the very first thing that's coming to me that I'm picking up on is they're letting me know that in the work in which you're recognized for, or where you're going, what you share, there's a level of it that you will always be the other piece of the puzzle that is intended for the experience that needs to take place. That you can almost look at this as people may find you in destiny points, in important moments. It's like the Isis and Osiris had to share that experience together to both be able to get what they were meant to get out of it. Then there is something about those that come to you. I'm also feeling, yeah, I have chills. I'm also feeling that it wouldn't surprise me if the people that feel drawn to you can't always explain why. It's almost like, yeah, I got chills again. It's almost like it's like they're in line for something and they're not really sure what it is, but your energy is going to help them have the experience and get there. And it's done through in relation, connection. So it feels as if there can almost be possibly the degree in which, whether now or in the future, you work with people has like a real depth to it, because it's necessary for them to kind of go where they need to go. I also feel like I wouldn't be surprised, and I can actually relate to this to a degree because I have a lot of Pluto energy. So a lot of times when people find me, it's right before a big transformation. Sometimes that means that things fall away that don't serve. So if we look at the story of him being pulled down and dismembered and being resurrected, I do feel like there's a quality in which when people find you, that there's this essence of you're helping to pull apart the pieces that aren't helping, aren't serving, that there's a very transformative quality that I'm sensing in your energy, that is meant to work in more depths. Like, I wouldn't say I'm feeling your energy as something. It's like, oh yeah, that's this light little simple thing we're gonna do. Like, no, like it feels as if you will be known, or what you fully embody will have a quality that very much is potent in transforming lives, changing, moving through, crossing thresholds. And that these people will feel drawn to you, these circumstances will be drawn to you. Now, even though the sign is in Libra, I'm definitely not feeling it, especially I'd have to see the rest of the chart, but I'm not feeling it as something that necessarily applies to you constantly. So this very much feels more of something shared with a collective, like a service or specific purpose through exchange, as it relates to more of what you're known for, of work, of things like that. Okay, so that's what I'm picking up. Mark, you'll have to let me know how that feels, and if anything I shared resonated. So, yeah, thank you for that question. That was a good question. I do love the asteroids. Okay, I'm looking through the chats. A special service. Intuit. Okay, let me see. I can say one thing right off the bat. The first thing I'm getting, communication. I'm not sure if you have any Mercury significant placements. So anything Gemini, Virgo, Mercury placement areas. I do feel communication, some form of communication feels very relevant. But I'm also hearing writing. My throat chakra. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my throat chakra right now is acting up. So I'm taking that as a sign. Yes, it's so okay. And ninth house. Yes. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. So ninth house is going to be higher wisdom, higher understanding. It kind of is like looks into the beliefs or the deeper underbelly. And then, yes, for Leo there to kind of be seen and experiencing that. Yeah. Awesome. Let me see. I feel like there's something else though. I'm hoping you feel comfortable in sharing your knowledge. I think, especially the way my throat chakra is acting up, I'm hoping that you feel comfortable in being seen and experienced in what you do know. Because, yeah, that's okay. I knew what you meant. I got you. Because I feel like one of the challenges can be after they say that, noticing the ninth house can feel like I have to keep learning. Others know more. Like I need to still find out. It's like the endless pit of like learning and getting to know things. So I do hope that you are confident and sharing what you do know because it feels very important. I'm also sensing something to do. Goodness gracious. Well, I'm sure once I'm disconnected from your energy, my throat chakra will clear. Give me just a second. For reference, this happens when I'm doing my client sessions too. One of my gifts is I'll feel in my body like where the energy is moving or needs to move. Sometimes like my voice will go out or I'll feel it congested in my head. So yes, definitely, Mark, I take this as a sign you need to speak your truth and be seen for what you know. The other thing I was going to say is hands. I feel like I'm picking up also. I know you asked about service, but I'm also sensing that, yeah, my hands are vibrating. I feel like you are also someone that has the gift and ability to intuit and gather information through hands, whether that be through people, through nature. It feels like there is also a gift relevant to your hands and the energy that can be shared through your hands. So I'm not sure if you have any sort of practices. Even creative practices can be great tools to connect through the hands. Or energy work through the hands. I'm not exactly entirely. I feel like I don't have access or they're not wanting to say an absolute of where or how, but I can tell you that there's significance to hands. Okay. All right, Mark, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect from your energy. Hopefully that helps some. Let me know in the chat if any of it resonated. Awesome. All right, guys. Yes, wonderful. So glad that it was helpful. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. All right. So, Margot, what about a green ray? I saw a plasma. Oh my goodness, plasma. Don't let Beckett hear you. In the last few, for reference, for anybody watching. Hello. Hello. Okay. Junior Master, I'd have to put my glasses on. Hello, thank you for joining. If you have a question, give me your first name or nickname and put it in the chat, okay? Okay, so So yeah, Margo's laughing. Yeah, like he keeps we were watching something the other day and it had like Dr. Stephen Greer and he was like, and there was a mist and he's like plasma and this was this and there was lights and he's like plasma. Like he's just on the plasma roll. It's fascinating. Okay, so anyways, Margot, your question. What about a green ray? Saw a plasma thing river that had a green color moving through the ethers. Okay, well, I can speak to the green ray. I'm not as versed in all the plasma stuff as he is yet, but this is what I can tell you. I actually love the green ray. And I think that a lot of times this ray can be just associated with one thing, and that's healing. So a lot of times people will be like, oh, green ray, heart, healing. But really, this ray is like so much more than that. So this ray is associated with Archangel Raphael. Well, Raphael is also not just known for healing. The green ray is also associated with connection. And when I say connection, it's not just like heart human connection, but also the plants, the animals, the mycelium, the communication system that runs through things. It's like I look at it this way. It's like if you want to heal, you have to have an understanding of the connection to all things. It's right. Like you're not just like going to be a doctor and learning about, I don't know, just one arm. You're learning about the whole body and how it all connects and works together, right? So the green ray also is very much associated with connection. And I think that's something that often can get overlooked. So it's connected to nature, it's connected to the connection we have to one another, connection to the heart. The heart is also said as the highest vibrating chakra. Some say it's also connected to the 0 point, which is connection to all things. So when you're looking at this, Margot, like as it relates to plasma, what I have gathered, Beckett shared, is our plasma responds to joy, wonder, and whimsy, which is funny because Archangel Raphael is connected to the royal star Regulus, which is connected to elemental beings and the Fae beings. Dragons, if that resonates with you. Oh, hi, Jose. Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. That's my own name. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, if you have a question while you're here, Jose, just type it in the chat. And when I'm done with Marcos, I'll give a look to it. Okay. Um, so, hmm. Okay, guys. Well, that was fun. I guess we have such high energy that my computer decided that I was done. So I'll probably wrap it up with these with these last questions. That sometimes can happen with the frequency, but also it's Mercury retrograde. So, technology stuff is fun. Okay, so yes, Margot, hopefully, if you're still on here and listening, the green ray, we talked about plasma. It could have been, what I would say is you may kind of feel into what your feelings are of how those two connect together. You know what I mean? I'm trying to look at other angles. I'll be honest, I feel like it's something I'm going to give you the opportunity. Very helpful. Thank you. I do know what you mean. Margot, I'm going to give you the opportunity I can intuitively connect, but I'll be honest with you, I am getting a strong sense that that if you were to sit with that, that there's a message there. And I feel like maybe your guides want you to feel into trusting that aspect of yourself to get the message from it, because I feel like you're capable. But if you want me to connect, I can try, but let me know how that feels. So, yeah. And then, Jose, if you're still with me and you did have a question, you're going to black belt. Oh, cool. Got it. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, guys. Jose, did you have a question for me that you want me to kind of look at or explore on the live today? Yeah, I don't. Yes. Okay, awesome. Shoot. Let me know. Type it in the chat. We talked about all sorts of things today. We talked about a lot of galactic astrology. So that's fun. I mean, I love that topic. Yeah. Okay. Have I noticed any UFOs in the sky lately? That's a good question. So I would have to say that Beckett is more attuned to that, ironically, than me. So he has more of a ability visually to kind of pick up on things. Like a lot of times we'll see certain clouds and he'll be like, that's a UFO. Like that's a UFO. I think the where it's like my energy, what I tend to notice is more related to in the room. So I can tell you, I did have an experience. Actually, I'll share two of them with you. So we did a trance channeling one day, and the recently knows UFO. Oh wow, that's awesome! That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I have not had that experience yet. No. But I'm able to where I feel like he is will sense that. Like for me, it's like in the room. So like we trans channeled the Asanis and the energy, when I came out of it, I noticed like things in the room were weird. Like the energy was off. I knew that there was like presence in the room with us. And it was funny because my guides were like, there's three beings, and I drew like where they were. And it was like one was by Beckett's feet, one was by me, and one was by the cat. Well, what's funny is the cat was acting crazy that night, but all of a sudden he just stopped and he was like looking into nothingness and was like frozen, like almost in what is it, inanimate, like he was frozen. And it was like it was the strangest thing. And Beckett was like, I can sense the energy too. And then one night, I was about to go to bed, and I felt the presence, and I felt like my guides were connecting to me, and that was an experience where a gray being, like in my third eye, when I meditated, I could feel the energy in the room, but visually, I haven't been able to see yet. But in my third eye, like I was locked with the eyes and I could see it. Well, it was working with me through my fears, because I have had I won't go into it, but I have had, like, I know of my soul's, my early as a child, different experiences, which had some fear that came up around gray beings. Um, Yeah, that's all I'm going to share right now. But anyway, so the being was like telling me to basically see beyond their appearance and feel them vibrationally, to calm my nervous system down, which is interesting, really, especially when we're talking about topics of first contact. We can visually judge or assume, or have physical responses, but can we energetically connect to sense, am I really in harm's way right now? Is this, energy, of my highest good? So that's kind of what they were helping me with. And the second I was able to feel that I was safe, feel loving energy, then it just like was gone, like the energy was gone. So those have been kind of my experiences. Okay, let me see. That makes sense. Uh, I love cats. So I have Basquiat, conjunct my moon, and I'm a big cat person. The cat could see the being. Yeah, he was weird. Like he was just like frozen, like frozen. Yeah, it Margot, yes, especially like for someone like me. Like, I mean, I read the Akashic records. I'm a certified galactic astrologer, so it's like, but even I have had where it's like that first impulse of fear, and it's like learning to kind of, there was a while when I was like, do I really want a Palladian to show up in my living room? Could I actually like not freak out about that? Where now I feel like I've worked on that a lot, and feel more comfortable with that idea when the timing is right. Okay, all right, guys. Well, it's 1:11. I think that is a good point to end here. So, thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you for your questions. And just another reminder, I'm going to, by tomorrow morning, put in the community thread, I'm going to put up the post to post your questions there. This does really help me, if you post any questions there. So if you go about your week and you think, I might see if I can connect about that with Cassandra, and then come back next Thursday. And that helps me, to kind of be able to get the name, tune into the energy, and kind of have a way to connect that way. Also, in general, I am trying to connect more and more. So engage. I think I posted the other day, tell me how you're doing. Like, feel free to connect when you have moment or time, or maybe you need to feel like you're not the only person in your tribe. Come share a comment with me. And if you did want to work more personally one-on-one with me, I invite you to check out my site, look and see if I resonate with you and your energy. And if the timing is right, I would love to work more personally with you. Thank you for doing these chats. Okay, yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Mark. Yes. Thank you, Jose and Marco. Wonderful. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful, magical week, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye.